Hi, and welcome to another presentation from your business tutor, learning your way, anytime, anywhere. It is often argued that the most important asset in a business is its people. Select the correct ones and they will successfully drive your business forwards. But in reality, it isn't as simple as that. It is not enough to have the correct staff on board. It is also about getting the most out of them. And a crucial part in that process is making sure staff are able to operate effectively within an organisation. So with that in mind, let's turn to the first part in a series of presentations on management structures. And initially, our focus will turn to tall and flat structures. So what are we going to learn about in this presentation? Well, first of all, we're going to find out what a management structure is. After that, we're going to look at tall and flat management structures. And then finally, we're going to explore the advantages and disadvantages of each of those structures. So let's start with our first question. What is a management structure? Management structure describes how an organisation should work and operate. It will show how many levels of management there are in a business, which managers have authority over others, and how information passes through the organisation. This is important because the management structure chosen by an organisation has a big influence over who makes decisions and what levels of authority and responsibility each member of staff has. So with that in mind, let's turn to our second question and find out how an organisation can design its management structure. The first type of management structure an organisation can choose is called a tall structure. This is a structure that has many levels of management. For example, in the diagram shown, there are 11 levels of management. Because there are many levels of management, it means this type of structure has a long chain of command. In other words, there are many levels through which instructions and information must pass. This is an interesting point, and one we will come back to later. Tall structures also tend to be designed with narrow spans of control. This means each manager is only in charge of or supervises a small number of employees. In the diagram shown, the manager directly supervises only 2 people. As before, this is something that requires further thought, so let's do that by looking at the advantages of a tall structure. One of the biggest advantages of having a tall structure is narrow spans of control. Because each manager only has to supervise a small number of employees, it makes it easy to support them. A manager will have time to spend with each employee, helping them with any difficulties they may have. This, of course, will enhance the employee-manager relationship, but will also help the employee to develop their skills, so they are ready for future promotion opportunities. Both these situations should improve an employee's motivation levels and helps keep staff loyal. Linked to that, and because managers are able to closely supervise employees, they are better able to keep an eye on the quality and quantity of an employee's work. This, of course, will make it easier for a manager to ensure targets are achieved and quality standards are met, but will also help in identifying those employees ready for promotion and those requiring further training. Another benefit of a tall structure is that because there are so many levels of management and narrow spans of control, it creates more promotion opportunities. As can be seen in the diagram, should the manager retire, there are only 2 employees vying for the promoted post. Employees will find this motivational as they know they will be able to get on in the business without facing too much competition. A final advantage is that within a tall structure, each level of management has specific levels of authority and responsibility. This means every member of staff knows exactly what their role is in the business, and therefore can become very efficient at doing it, which improves productivity. So now that we've explored the advantages, let's now turn to look at the disadvantages of a tall structure. You'll remember from earlier that we said a tall structure had a long chain of command. This can cause problems for an organisation as it slows down the speed at which information flows through a business because there are so many levels of management. This is an issue because it will slow down decision making, meaning a business may miss out on opportunities or will be slow to react to change. As a result, the business may lose customers and sales to more agile competitors. Another disadvantage connects to the issue of staff having very specific roles and levels of responsibility within a tall structure. Although this allows an employee to become very proficient at their job, it also limits their development opportunities. Once they've mastered their job, there isn't a lot left for an employee, as their role doesn't allow them to take on additional responsibilities. As you would expect, this can be very demoralising for an employee who wants to develop themselves. A final disadvantage links to narrow spans of control that a tall structure has. As we know, when a manager only has to supervise a few members of staff, it makes it easier for them to support and check on their staff. However, there can also be a negative side to this, especially if the manager supervises too closely or uses the process to put too much pressure on their staff. This can have a negative effect on staff motivation and makes employees feel that they are not valued. A second way in which an organisation can design its management structure is by using a flat structure. This is the exact opposite of a tall structure and therefore has few levels of management, as can be seen in the diagram shown. As you would expect, a flat structure is designed with wide spans of control, which means each manager in the structure supervises a lot of staff. For example, in the diagram, the manager is responsible for 6 staff members, which we will find out later can cause issues. Another design feature of a flat structure is that the chain of command is short. There are only a few levels of management for information and instructions to pass through. As we know from our earlier discussion around tall structures, this may prove to be advantageous. So with that detailed, let's ask the question, what are the advantages of a flat structure? As we know, a flat structure has a short chain of command due to there being few levels of management. This means information and instructions are passed around the business quickly, which increases the speed of decision making. The benefit of this is obvious. A business can react to change far more quickly. This is absolutely vital in fast-moving industries where technology is rapidly advancing or customers' preferences regularly change. By moving quickly, a business gives itself a massive opportunity to gain competitive advantage and market leadership. Another advantage of a flat structure is very much dependent upon the type of staff you have. As we know, a flat structure has wide spans of control, which means managers do not have a lot of time to supervise staff. This means that staff will be given significantly more independence and responsibility than they would in a tall structure. Now, this is a positive if you have staff who want responsibility and are experienced. They will love being able to make decisions and will enjoy the very nature of their job. This in turn will act to motivate them and will also help to develop their skills further. However, as we will find out now, when we look at the disadvantages of a flat structure, Sometimes a wide span of control that provides staff with more independence and responsibility can backfire. For example, if you have inexperienced staff or employees who just want to be told what to do, then providing responsibility and decision-making power will fail. First, inexperienced staff may make poor decisions, whereas staff trying to avoid responsibility might not make decisions at all. In both instances, the business is negatively affected. However, this situation is compounded further, as a wide span of control means managers have less time to spend supervising and supporting staff. This means inexperienced staff will be left to burn. Management just won't have the time to help and support, which could end up demoralising staff. Whereas if management don't have the time to supervise or check on staff, then those employees that just want to be told what to do or just don't care will never be identified until it's too late. Of course, even if you do have staff that want to take on responsibility, a wide span of control can still have negative consequences if abused by the manager. If a manager delegates too much work or gives an employee work beyond the employee's ability level and does not provide adequate support, then this will end up with staff becoming stressed, overworked and resentful. The final advantage of a flat structure is connected to how few levels of management there are, in so much that this limits promotion opportunities, which is then compounded further by the wide span of control. This can be seen clearly in the diagram, where if the manager were to retire, there would be up to 6 internal candidates vying for the promoted post. This lack of promotion opportunity can be very demotivating and can result in good employees leaving the business in order to get on. So what did we learn in today's presentation? Well, first of all, we found out what a management structure is. We then went on and looked at tall and flat management structures. Finally, we explored the advantages and disadvantages of each of those management structures. As can be seen by just looking at two simple management structures, there is no right or wrong answer. In fact, this is where management expertise comes into the equation. First, management need to work out which structure is best for the industry they are in, the customers they serve, the staff they employ, and the challenges they face. Next, they need to realise that choosing the correct structure, although important, is only part of the solution. More often than not, success will be determined by how well management implement the structure. This is seen no more clearly than when we consider narrow and wide spans of control. As was clear, both have potential to benefit or hinder the effectiveness of tall and flat structures. The key, therefore, is in the realisation that the choice of management structure is only the first decision. To get the most out of a structure, managers must actively oversee its implementation to ensure the benefits the structure offers are realised in full. But even more than that, they must continue to manage it and modify it if circumstances in the business's environment change. If this is done well, the structure will actively enhance the effectiveness of the business and its staff.